like sucking, but I ain't gay.
Legit bad podcast.
Fuck those honkies.
Welcome to Costco. I love you.
He really knows how to suck a wiener.
Alright, Jesus Christ. Welcome back to Legit Bat, a Sunday edition, and we are sans Ben because he has his kids today, and that's fine. He's got shit to do. I do too, but instead I'm right here talking to these motherfuckers. So, Hush Hush Society, why don't you tell us about yourselves and what you guys do? Oh, and we're being joined right now by another one of you. So that's perfect.
Yeah, we come out of the woodwork.
Another one. So.
Yes.
Hello.
We're all here.
Hello.
Now.
Yes.
Hello. Can I be heard?
You can be
Good
heard.
morning. You're good.
Yes. We were just doing introductions, dude. Whoever wants to shoot from the hip.
Sure. I am Mystery Mike from Hush Hush Society Conspiracy Hour, as you mentioned. And these are my compatriots, Slick Frank Sanders and Declassified Dave. We do conspiracies and all the same type of shit that you guys watch here and listen to here. And yeah, we like the classic oldies. You know, we go back to the 50s and 60s and 70s and go through those conspiracies and the old stuff, mysteries, true crime, cults. You know, have fun. You can find us anywhere, you know, wherever.
That's about my that's about my introduction every time too. You can find us in the spots. I mean, you're listening right now, so you should know.
I love it. I love the old conspiracies too, because I never got into that stuff. So I've been listening to podcasts that talk about 50s and 60s conspiracies like Laurel Canyon and stuff I've never even looked into or even thought about. So I love it. I want to hear some of your weirdest stuff if you guys have time.
Yeah, bring us the weird.
The weird. Simulation theory, not 50s and 60s, but simulation theory, I think, is one of the weirdest ones that we did, which kind of coincides with mind uploading. Yeah.
Well, I'm actually glad you brought that up specifically because we've been talking about that from different angles lately. We had Human Vibration on a couple weeks ago, and she was talking about how she thinks the multiverse is kind of a psyop to get people out of their moment right here, right now. You know, you hear a lot about that. But then we talked to Nick Hinton last week too, and he was kind of saying the same, well, kind of from a different perspective, but he was kind of saying that he thinks the simulation theory is a psyop because it brings you away from God. So there's different ways to think about that. But what do you guys think in general as far as that theory goes?
And I also want to hear if you guys have watched Black Mirror, the episode San Junipero, which was highly decorated and given multiple accolades for being the best episode. It was my favorite episode until I realized that death isn't the worst thing in life.
No, what's worse is being trapped here forever. That's way worse than death.
I know, but
in my opinion.
So for me being like a normie previously, I loved that episode. I was like, you could upload yourself and just hang out forever in the multiverse. That sounds amazing. Like that was me. And now I'm like, oh, that's the worst. That's the trap. They want us to get to that point. They want everyone to feel that way. But that episode touched the souls of so many people who are our age, because they look at all the music they played in that episode. It was all old school music that would bring those. It would tug at the heartstrings of people and be like, oh yeah, I remember that song. And yeah, this does sound really cool.
I would love to hang out with my lesbian lover forever in the metaverse.
Okay, yeah.
Is that the episode of the elderly people who are like terminally ill? Okay.
Yeah, they're old lesbians,
right?
Which is fine. More power to them.
Yeah.
And at the end, it plays Heaven on Earth. Heaven is a place on Earth, and it shows the little computer. So it shows the little lights flashing, like those are all the people in there just existing. And you're supposed to be like, that's amazing. That's so great. And it's super gross. They're not even people anymore.
Well, yeah. So let's get into this. So we'll start with Mystery Mike, just because you're up on this side of my screen. And then we'll go to Frank and then Declassified Dave. So Mike, let's start with you. What's your general idea with the simulation theory and all the attached, shit?
Yeah. So like I was saying, mind uploading kind of goes along the lines of simulation theory, I guess. Same category, I would say. But if if you're thinking about it in the way of, we do have a biological body somewhere and we are just living within a simulation, the matrix, I guess you could say, it makes sense in a lot of different ways. You could look at, the black cat theory, where it's just, you see glitches in the matrix, and that happens a lot. You see them a lot more actually now. And is that something that's kind of pointing towards the matrix crumbling on itself? Also, if you look at the size of what a quantum computer would have to be to hold all of us, if we're all conscious beings within this matrix, the computer would have to be massive. It would have to be the size of a universe, realistically, to compute the capabilities of an entire, multi-billion person world of all conscious people. But if you look at it from the other end, okay, maybe there's 100 million people that are conscious, and the rest of them are all NPCs. They're all just written code that exists. And how many times have we seen those people
Right. So I think we all have our own ideas of NPCs. What's your idea of it, though? Because there's differing opinions on that.
I think I hate to say it, but I think most drug addicts are NPCs, like the heavy drug addicts. The people that you see out in the street that no longer exist here in this plane of existence, those are NPCs. I think a lot of people that lack any kind of characteristics, any kind of personality, those are pretty easy shells for NPCs. Most animals could be NPCs.
Have you ever thought of NPCs also being, so I can see what you're saying. Have you ever thought of NPCs though as something similar to what we saw in the Matrix, for example? Like the Oracle is kind of an NPC. Like she's just always there. She is technically a creation of the Matrix. She's a robot for all intents and purposes, but she's there for good and kind of broke out on her own. Do you ever think of good NPCs that are there just as either barriers or obstacles in a way, or ushers
guides
of goodwill? Yeah, they could be one or the other. It's not really a negative thing or a positive thing. They're just there to kind of give direction.
Yeah, I think those actually exist within people's family structures. So there's somebody in your family that is technically an NPC. Yeah, it's usually the person, in my mind, I would see it as usually the person that you are most akin to. You're the person that you find their advice sage, and you listen to them word by word, and like what they're telling you is sound advice, or you, like you said, a good Samaritan, good guide in life. I think most of those people realistically are NPCs, because especially older generations, let's say that you had an 80-something-year-old grandfather who told you these stories over a period of time, and how he went to war and he did this and he did that. Can you verify any of that? Beyond pictures, beyond what he's telling you, can you verify the history of literally any human being on this earth?
No, you can't. And we talk about that a lot too, because what can you verify to yourself besides what you see and experience yourself? So that's why people have so many questions about history and things people are telling them happened, is because it's like, well, I didn't see it, so I don't know. And you can, break that down to things that happen now with train derailments, or any of the shit you see in the news. It's like, it sounds stupid to be like, oh, all this is fake, but to the individual, it is fake. It's not something that happened to you, so why are you worried about it? So to try to verify every single thing that happens is an exercise in futility, because you're not going to, but you're always going to have somebody that comes out and it's like, no, I was there, I saw this happen. It's like, okay, well, it was real for you then. It wasn't real for me.
Yeah, within a bubble, essentially within a bubble. It's like I said, if you have 100 million people that are all conscious, okay, let's say that we're surrounded again by another 7 billion NPCs, and we're just basing our history and what we know and our knowledge based off of what those NPCs were coded and programmed to tell us and to give us.
I got a question about the drugs. Do you think those people were born NPCs, or do you think that they got the virus? mind virus of being addicted to a substance that brought them down that route.
I don't think those people ever existed.
That's okay.
Wait, I
don't
like
think those
this.
people
Hold
exist.
on, because I'm not a huge fan of the NPC thing in general. So I'm open to all interpretations of what that could or couldn't be. So do you think, Dave?
Yes.
Do you think that people are born with a soul, but then by partaking in drugs and just not paying attention to the world around them or not caring, they could kind of lose that soul or light or whatever you want to call it, and then just become NPCs?
Yeah, that was kind of my question for Mike and his thought process with how he, pertained. It could be, like when you're talking about drug addicts or being addicted to something that has put you, like, poof, you're not here anymore. Could they have started out without being essentially having a virus like you would in a computer or the Matrix? Like,
Yeah, I actually like that
love
idea
that
because I
idea.
think everybody has the potential to be everything. So you could start out as somebody who has the potential to not be an NPC, and then come across something that just turns your mind off. I think I've actually experienced that a lot with people I know, where you've known them your whole life and they seem different later on, like something switched off or something switched on, and there's something different now. So, and I mean, that brings in, you want to talk, I hate the word quantum. I've said it a million times. Nobody understands it, so why are we fucking using it? But the idea of superposition is really interesting because it could be, it is literally the ability to be one thing or the other at the same time. It's the Schrodinger's cat thing. So if you have the ability to be one thing or the other at the same time, it's just by observing it that manifests, so that makes sense with the drug addict thing. Something was introduced into their field that just switched something off or on. And I've known a lot of drug people that are way more enlightened than the most sober motherfucker I've ever known. So I don't know if that makes them an NPC because they seem enlightened to me, and maybe I'm an NPC. Yeah.
But look at how people are when they get off drugs too. People get off drugs and they're like, I found God and like, I know all this stuff. And they're a totally different person than they were when they were on drugs and kind of blind to what was going on. Not to say that I haven't seen drug addicts who are super content with nothing. They have nothing. They don't care about their social credit score
long as they
at
got
all.
that
They're
H,
like, yeah, fuck
care.
you and your social credit score. I'm never going to rent a hybrid electric car from you because I don't give a fuck. I have heroin.
I respect that. I respect somebody who's so high that they're like, fuck your Tesla. Good for you, dude.
Sure. But then they come out of that and they're like, okay, I can build back better in this world and be a person and live in this existence and still have a good time. They find a way to make it okay both ways. But when they're on drugs, they're not paying attention to anything around them. They're not really absorbed in other people
Not
or
in this reality
connecting with anything.
That's what I mean. Like, it's all perspective. Like, you can see somebody who thinks or who seems like they're out the fucking left field, and really they're just living their best fucking life. It just seems like it's out in left field to you because they're not participating in this system or paying taxes or, so that seems like an NPC because it's like, oh, he's off in his own fucking world, but maybe he's actually got it right. Who are we to say? Who knows?
Because the NPC to play devil's advocate could be the guy driving the Tesla, wearing the tie, scrolling on his cell phone mindlessly. Could also be,
yes,
like Mike said, no personality, no characteristics about them that doesn't distinguish them from others.
Yeah, exactly. I just hate when people say it's the person who's the NPC is the person who orders the plain cheeseburger. No offense, babe, because you have said that, but the person who's just like ordering from McDonald's every day, who's just like, derp a derp a derp, I eat Swedish fish every night or whatever the fuck. Like, it doesn't matter. I do not eat Swedish fish every night at all. I just like the taste of Swedish fish. No, that's not true. But the people who do dumb things that are bad, when you think like, oh, they got the 2 liter of soda and that's what they drink all the time, or what, like judgments against people, that's what people think NPCs are. And I don't think that's what that is.
And that's funny because I think judging people like that too, which is very inherent in humans to do that, is probably an NPC trait too, to be judging people on stupid shit like, oh, you order your cheeseburger plain like that. So maybe we're all NPCs just trying to break out and figure out who fucking knows. But Frank, we have not heard from you at all. What do you think about all this bullshit we're talking about?
Yeah, so simulation theory, I feel very strongly about. I lived for a couple years like absolutely convinced that we were in a simulation, and somehow I worked myself out of that because it was like terribly depressing and psychotic and almost obsessive about it. But I do have some strong opinions. Mike said earlier in the episode that the computer that would need to run some sort of simulation on the plane that we're existing in would have to be the size of a galaxy. Now, the very first computer was 50 feet long and something along the lines of 4 or 5 tons, right? So here we are in 2023 and we all have computers in our pockets. Who's to say this simulation isn't running in the year, who knows, 100 years in the future, 1,000 years in the future, to where you could be running a supercomputer on something the size of a sprinkle, right? A sprinkle on your ice cream.
Yeah.
Making it much more viable. I forget the quote of, I forget who exactly said the quote, but somebody at some point said humanity will eventually go extinct or get to the point where they'll be able to run a simulation that's indistinguishable from reality. You look at today's technology with ray tracing in video games and ultra high definition graphics, to where it's almost like that's getting pretty real to what I'm seeing with my own eyes. It starts to get scary. So it's easy to question whether this could be a simulation or not. With what we're experiencing, what we know to be true, the things that we're playing just as video games, almost simulating real life, who's to say what's going to happen in another 200-300 years? Are we going to be able to fully simulate something? And I think it's a possibility, as long as we don't get struck by a meteor or AI takes over or whatever it may be that takes down humanity. I think if that doesn't happen, we'll get to that point. And who's to say that point hasn't already taken place, right? When it comes to NPCs, I would define it as somebody without a soul. And how to define that exactly, it's hard to say, because a soul isn't tangible. And like you said, a lot of judging takes place. So you could look at somebody and say that's a soulless SOB, right? That
right. I always say when
no soul.
You could drive for 5 minutes in any state and be like, they're all NPCs, they're all retarded.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. Exactly. I've done that myself. I've been at theme parks, saw what somebody was wearing, how they were acting. That's an NPC all day. And it's really judgment, and who are we to say that person has no soul? Okay, that guy has a soul, because we can't really put a finger on it what a soul is. I like to think about it as like how we touch consciousness, how we tap into reality, how we conceive the universe around us, and how we are spiritually. That's how I like to consider a soul. And somebody who's not in touch with those things or conscious of those things around them, I would think, okay, that guy's an NPC, right? He orders the plain cheeseburger from McDonald's, he eats the Swedish fish every night, he's drinking a 2 liter of Mountain Dew, doesn't care about his 9 to 5, he'll work it till he dies. I think simulation theory, it's scary because it's viable. I think we could get there at some point if we haven't already.
We could be in that right now. So based on what you're saying, with AI, and we're tapping into AI and we're like, wow, look what AI could do. It could take us over. It would have to be the size of a universe. What if God is an acronym for whatever fucking program is running us? What if we're in that already? What if the universe is our little hard drive that we're all encapsulated inside of? Yeah, not to be super negative, just curious.
I wouldn't even say that that's negative necessarily. I wouldn't say that's what I was about to say. Exactly. Traditional religion would probably argue against it, but I feel like everybody's entitled to their own relationship with some sort of creator. And who's to say some sort of creator didn't create whatever it is that we're in, whether it be the Milky Way galaxy floating amongst thousands and thousands, if not millions and billions of universes. Who's to say that isn't just lines of code. We can't.
Right.
Yeah.
We can't say that it's
can't.
not.
And so the thing I always come back to is, are you guys aware of Crow 777, the guy that does the podcast, and he did the lunar wave. Anyway, he kind of argues that if it's a simulation, that denies the existence of a creator. And I'm like, I don't think so at all. Like, you don't play a video game and say nobody
Right.
created this because it's just a simulation. No, somebody put a lot of fucking time
Have
and
you
effort
seen
into that.
Tamagotchis? Come on. Do
Um,
yeah, but you have this little thing that you have to take care of, and you love it and you care about it, and then eventually you fucking forget about it. And that is my biggest fear with whoever created
You
us
are
in
the
this
Tamagotchi
simulation.
god.
No, but we're just the little Tamagotchi that's just going to starve and die because our creator doesn't care.
well, yeah,
And I'm not saying that. I'm not super black pilled with that shit.
I
Like,
always say
God,
that it
guys,
doesn't seem like a simulation as
that.
far as we know it. The simulation with zeros and ones and computer code is all we know how to think about it, because that's what we do, is we make computer codes with zeros and ones, and it's very sterile and clinical and weird.
And it's all we've been taught. I don't know anyone who's done any research further.
Right. So to
Read
try
the
to
code
try
a
to
different
think
way.
about how this could be a simulation but not a computer code is hard to think about, but it is kind of, everything's duality and zeros and ones and polarity. Everything is kind of computer code-ish, but I always call it a biological simulation, because it does seem to be there's something real about this, but it's not something we can even think about, because a simulation to us is something that's not real. It's on a screen. It's something you're looking at, externally. And I always think maybe that's us. We're just the avatars in a video game, but it's real to us. It's like playing Mario. Mario doesn't know that the tube he's jumping in isn't
might.
real. Maybe he's thinking about it. He does eat a lot of mushrooms, so he could.
And how do we know that Mario doesn't have genetic code and lines of DNA in him?
Yeah,
you
we
know?
don't know what Mario does when we turn the game off.
He's fucking the shit out of Peach. We know that
Yeah.
every
We-
game.
Right,
He's been
Mega
fucking her for like
Italian.
30 years.
laying the pipe.
Yeah, so when you're talking Frank, when you're talking about recognizing other people as NPCs because they aren't as
Oh yeah, it was like, it's almost like pinging your soul off someone else. So we're all connected in some way, and you
I'm
can
always
send
careful.
a ping out there and they don't send a ping back. You're like, ooh, soulless. Sorry. Like,
right. That's
they
what I'm
don't
always
have to say
careful.
something profound. They could just do something human.
I'm always very careful to not say you're not on our level, or you're not, seeing eye to eye with us, because that seems stupid. You're not. It's not that somebody's on a different level than you. It's just different. So it's not that I'm higher or lower. You're just over there. You're in a different dimension of thinking. So
Yeah.
to judge people by how they act and be like they're definitely NPCs also seems like an NPC thing to do, because it's kind of a base instinct to judge people like that. So
No, I agree entirely. Like I said, the soul thing, it's not tangible. So again, we can't really base any sort of opinion on whether somebody has a soul or not. It's
Right.
definitely hard to say.
Or
Yeah, so-
NPCs don't exist at all.
Or they
or
don't
we're
exist
all
at all.
NPCs
Yeah.
that think we aren't.
That
Who
was,
knows?
I remember when the concept of NPCs was first introduced to me in a podcast. I heard about a guy who was like, I realize NPCs exist because I can manifest my reality. And manifest is a term that I fucking hate.
It's
to
one of
be
those
honest.
cringy
think it's
new
sounds
age
cheesy
shit.
as fuck.
Ugh.
So whatever,
Yeah.
that's fine. Go ahead and manifest your reality if you guys want to. That's totally cool. Go for it. Not judging, but it's kind of gay. So, but this guy was saying that he could make his day happen a certain way, and he was so in touch with his reality that he could tell what was going to happen before it happened. And he was saying it in a pretty funny way. He wasn't an asshole at all, but the way he talked about NPCs was so fucking arrogant. You could tell he felt like he was the most important person in the world. And for himself, that's okay, because he is himself, and he can feel like he's the most important person in his world if he wants. That's his right. He's totally entitled to that. But also for a person outside of that, I'm like, that's great for you, but he has he wasn't open to anything at all. It was just like, this is my way and this is my view, and anyone who thinks outside of it is wrong and different. And that's how every single person thinks if you are not open to other people's thoughts and opinions.
Right. And
If that makes
that's a
sense.
trigger for me too. The NPC trigger that I'm like, if you're not open-minded about other people's perspectives, I don't know if I can trust you or not. And it's not that so much if they're open-minded, but if they're very sure of themselves and they're like, this is what's true, it's an immediate turnoff. I'm like, you might be right, but the fact that you're so sure of yourself makes me kind of
It's
not want to
all
listen to you.
delivery. Like, just
Yeah.
try to be a little bit nicer
And I
about
hope we
it.
never
know
come
maybe-
off like that.
and that's just me. Maybe I'm an NPC and I'm just super offended by it because I'm an NPC. I don't know.
Who fucking
I'm
knows?
open to being that too. But when someone comes at it like, well, this is my view and I can do anything I want in this world and manifest my reality, and all of these people are my peons, it's kind of gross.
That's definitely off-putting when somebody thinks, you know, that this is my world, you just live in it. That's
Yeah.
But that's kind
an
of true. Not to
unsettling
cut you
thought.
off, but that is kind of it. Like, you are the center of your own reality is true, because it's true for every single person. You are the center of your own reality. And you can go to the extreme with that and be narcissistic and be like, everything's out for me. Or you can be like, no, this world was made literally for me, so I'm going to use it to help other people, or, you know, however you want to think about it.
Well, you have to understand that our world, everyone, we are all the center of our own world. It doesn't make us narcissistic just because we have that thought, because we are us. So all of you guys, that you're the center of your world in a way, because you are you. So you have to navigate this world. My daughter is 17 and she just told me that she gets really angry when her friends think they're the main character in the story. And I was confused by that at first. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, they just think they're the main character. And I tried to tell her, hey, they are the main character because they're living their life. Why do you care about their life? And she couldn't even comprehend that. And I don't watch TikTok all day for my life. So I guess I couldn't really get through to her.
You're
But
not going to
it's
either.
an interesting concept that kids are trying to take away that self-identity. Like they want, I think the media and TikTok and all of that is trying to make them care more about other people's lives than their own, so that they're not really taking care of themselves, thinking more about what other people think, and then living their lives that way so that they're impressing other people rather than loving themselves, in a sense.
So everybody's running their own simulation. Like you said, like you are player one in the game you're in. And
You have to be.
it's always going to be that way. So maybe the simulation that we're living in has all these other 7 billion plus nodes on top of everything else that's living, that has some type of, if it's conscious, you know, or not, and knows it's there. Maybe this is a very complicated device that we're all a part of.
It definitely is. It feels very complicated. I mean, we have to be the best person we can be while constantly judging ourselves, trying to help other people who are also constantly doing the same thing. It's
Well,
very complex.
I always go back to I can't remember what movie it was, but there was a line that stood out very well. And it's almost Matrix-esque, where somebody was like, what if this is all in my head? And she's like, isn't everything all in your head? It literally is. Like, everything that happens are just input signals interpreted by the brain happening to you. Not that you could change that through, you know, manifestation or whatever. Maybe you can. If you can, fuck yeah. But it's almost like there is no spoon thing. Like, there isn't a spoon, because all you're seeing of the spoon is what's being interpreted by your brain and ears and eyes and everything. So it is complicated, but if you take subjectivity out of it, I guess it's not that complicated. It's like, no, everything's just kind of happening and you're just observing it. Who knows?
I think we have to just stop trying to make the world the way we want it to be and just accept the world the way it is and
That's
ride
black
it
pill,
out.
though.
It's not black pilled, but I'm not negative about it. I think it's positive. Just ride it out and be happy
What
about
happened
it
to
and
be
be
the
okay.
change you want to see in the world? You know that old thing? What about
Yeah.
that?
That sounds just as cool as manifestation to me.
Yeah.
Or we all just exist inside some creator or God's brain matter.
Right. We're just like
That is
like
the
neurons.
simulation.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of how I feel about it. I feel like we are all
We're the imagination.
We are thought forms.
we are
So
little
would that
particles
take
of
free
God
will
learning.
out? Would that get rid of free will?
Oh, Jesus, dude. Now you got to open this can of
No,
worms.
I don't think it takes
Yes,
free will out at all.
sir.
So I personally
do you
don't.
think we in a simulation have free will?
So that's the way I think about it. Is very strange, because I think that free will is true, but it also isn't. So it's like everything you do, you are choosing to do, but also that was always going to be happening and always the thing you were going to choose. So it's not like you like if I was like, you know what I'm gonna do after this show, I'm gonna go out and drive my car to the store. I could think about that and be like, I'm gonna do that, and then be like, no, I have free will. I'm not gonna drive to the store. But that's always what was gonna happen. So yes, I chose to not go to the store after the show, but that's always what was gonna happen and always what is happening. So it's hard to even wrap your head around that kind of shit, you know?
Mm. And that goes into eternal time paradox. So once in your existence was the only time that you ever had free will, because you've done this a billion trillion times over and over and over again. And now it's no longer free will. It's just, like you said, stuff that you've done already at another point in time.
Right. It's like
Hence-
something that could happen is going to happen at some point. So why not right now? So we always go back to the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. And that's kind of like my theme for life. I'm like,
Hot
everything
dog fingers.
is going to happen or has happened or is going to happen no matter what. So why are you worried about anything?
So I think we can change it. So I have a
You
theory,
can, but it was always going to be changed.
but I have a theory with deja vu. I don't know if do you guys have a theory on deja vu and what that is?
I do,
All right.
but go for it.
Okay. I kind of want to hear yours first because
Oh,
Joe's
come
heard
on.
mine already. All right.
All
I'll
right,
I'll
sorry.
say it. if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
want, but
The
run
I
it.
show has
Run
heard
it.
it before,
Run
but
it.
it's fine.
So-
While you do that, I'm going to pee. Sorry.
All right. I know your bladder is so small. I'm judging. So anyway, my theory on deja vu is if we are living this same life over and over, and I think we live all of our lives maybe over and over, who knows? I don't know anything. I don't claim to know anything. But if we do, I think it would be unfair to run the same program over and over because that's dumb. So you get to go back and plot out certain points in your life that are super important, but maybe 10 seconds before you get to remember that point. And it could be a very mundane point, like you're standing in the hallway contemplating life. Like, I think I need to get tomatoes today. But right before that, maybe you get in a car accident. Who knows? You get to stop and make that moment really prominent so that it makes you think about what could possibly happen in the future. Or it makes you think, hey, wait, this already happened. And then maybe you'll do something different. But you get to go back and plot out certain points in your life where you get to like put a stake in it and say, I'm going to remember this moment quantumly or whatever, that this thing already happened, but I'm going to change it. But you don't get to change it or know what will happen in the future. You just get a weird moment of confusion where you're thrown off a little bit and possibly you might do something differently. Go
I
ahead,
gotta
tell me
ask, what makes you say that? What brought you to that conclusion exactly? How did you come up with that?
Oh, it's actually not
I
a
gotta
great.
know.
So I used to have deja vu so much when I was a little kid. And I had a ton of weird shit happen to me, not even right before or after deja vu. I'm not really sure. I just remember having it so often that I was like, you know, what would be really cool if some really important things happened after this. So sorry, it's not a great story. I just thought that would be really cool if you got to go back and do that. So every time I have deja vu, I will say moving forward after I had that, every time I have deja vu, I am extremely careful about what I do after that moment.
And the fucked up part is you'll
And I
never
haven't had
know.
any terrible things happen.
You'll never know if that was something you had to redo or if you did it right. Yeah.
So are you implying that at some point you experimented with possibly going against what you instinctively felt was going to happen? Like you
Yes,
chose to
100%,
divert.
yes.
All right, would it totally freak you out if I told you that I've been doing the same exact thing for like 4 years? We've talked about this extensively on my show. I get like bouts of very I wouldn't say rapid, but like frequent deja vu sorts of things over like a couple week spans. So like I'll know deja vu for like 2 months, and then over the course of like 1 week I'll get it very frequently. And that's been happening since I was like a teenager. And at some point at like the age of 18, maybe, I decided like I'm going to start pushing against the grain of what like I feel is coming on like before it happens. And yeah, I've sort of been doing that like ever since. Like I
So
feel like I'm
basically
gonna
you
go do
fucked
this, so
up
I'm
in a
gonna go do
past
that.
life a
So,
lot of times.
Do you feel
I
like
think
things
so.
have changed? Did you feel all right? So do you feel like when you have deja vu something big happens later? It could be 10 minutes, it could be 10 days, it doesn't matter. But do you feel like something kind of big and life-changing happens after you have deja vu, or you're presented with a choice?
I can't even say, but it might be some sort of chain reaction. So me going to reach for a cup of water to take a sip, or me going to take a left turn instead of a right, I don't think that's going to result in something incredibly large in the next hour or in the next day. But who's to say that doesn't result in something wild, a couple months from then?
Yeah, it's like the
I
It's
butterfly
like a
can't
ripple
effect.
in time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the butterfly
Yeah.
effect where you take a left turn instead of a right and somebody dies in China because
Yeah,
Or the
exactly.
course of your life is completely changed because you did one little thing differently. That's why time travel is such a big deal. Don't go and fuck shit up. You're going to change everything that's already been.
Yeah, I'm actually incredibly surprised at your theory of deja vu, because that's right about where I'm sitting, and I haven't
yeah.
heard anybody say that ever.
I've
Makes me
never
feel
heard
a little
anyone
bit less
say that
crazy.
either.
A little
Me
bit less
too. Thank
crazy.
you.
Yeah.
All right. Rad, dude. That's awesome.
so that idea makes trying to extrapolate like what's going to happen. My mic is muted.
Your mic.
Anyway,
Yeah, I was gonna say
it was muted.
So it's not every decision. He was saying that it makes you overanalyze every decision. It's not every decision. It's that this life ends and you get to go back and say, okay, where did I fuck up? And you get to make your own choices, and you might still fuck up and do the same stuff, but you get to try it again. I don't know. I don't know if that's how it is really.
Well,
that
really the only teacher we have is the current life. So you remember where you fucked up in the past. Okay, learn from that, But how do you know that you didn't do this exact same thing in a previous
it's like
life?
putting save points in Mario World or something. Like you get to go back and say, like, all right, let's try this again. I'm gonna get over this bridge and I won't let this bomb hit me and this alligator won't grab me. And it's just like playing a video game in a sense. So it kind of goes hand in hand with simulation theory, where you're just going back to the level at a save point and trying to not die.
Yeah, and
And
the beauty of it is you might end up making a new mistake if you're lucky and learn something new.
Yeah, you might
Learn
find the
something
key to
new out of
the
it.
warp level.
Yeah, man.
that was something that we mentioned when we got into simulation theory, as we got into also deja vu. And we talked about how it could have been also a point where you died.
Mm.
So a deja vu point is a point where you die.
Yeah, like it's like your save point in a game, sort
Yeah.
of, maybe. Maybe this is how Lara Croft feels in every Tomb Raider game.
Oh, she's just dying over and over again.
Yeah.
Or
She's got
Mario,
a lot
or
of
whoever.
deja vu.
Yep.
Dave, what do you think about this stuff? I feel like we've been bogarting this joint, so why don't you let us know what you feel about all this weird shit?
Is it weird that I don't remember when I have deja vu at all? Like I don't really pay attention to
Okay.
if it happens. Like it's definitely happened to me, but not recently. I mean, years, I could say, where I'm not like, huh, like, where you shrug your shoulders and sit back and you actually know it's that deja vu moment. So for me,
Obviously you're an NPC, so
yeah,
we can, yeah.
clearly.
Or
Yeah.
you're on a new path and this hasn't happened before.
Yeah,
Could-
or he's the most
could be.
enlightened one of all of us. That
Yeah,
could be.
it's
Shit.
deja vu.
I don't know. I guess I just don't pay attention, but when it does happen, I always deeply think about it and go like, what was that? Because it might be a memory, you might have seen a certain sign on a building, and
Right.
it's a memory from when you were like 4, and you don't remember where you saw it. It was on a different side of the country. You could have been not even paying attention when you were 4, but it went so far back into the coding that you have that it just popped right back into the present. Or it could be mistakes from past lives or future lives, whatever it is. You could have that, like you take a left turn instead of a right in that other life. If you took the right instead of the left, you wouldn't have gotten T-boned and died in that car accident. So, could be why
Yeah.
people are afraid of flying, could be why people are afraid of being in cars, like
Yeah.
somebody who's even never been in a car accident in their life could be terrified of driving on the freeway. And there's something to that on top of deja vu, but that might be where they get that. They might be having those crazy deja vu moments every single time they get into a car from something they
Yeah.
have no idea where it's coming from.
I think the strongest deja vu, and this is, according to science, is smell. So I've had crazy deja vu with a smell, and I don't even know what the fuck it is. I don't even know what the smell is, but you get that smell and it automatically like does something in your brain, and you just have this deja vu. You don't even know where it's from or why. Have you guys experienced that, Jen?
I have. I feel like that's from this life. In my personal experience, I'm not saying that's everyone's experience, but I can smell something that I smelled when I was a little kid that maybe my grandparents had laying around, and then I'll smell it later and remember, oh yeah, this is from when I had a sleepover at my grandparents' house when I was 5 years old. Like
So you remember way more than I do. I smell something and I'm like, that is familiar.
It's from this life, but I don't ever relate it to past life stuff, but that doesn't mean that's not true. It could totally be from that. I just remember stuff from this life.
Well, the olfactory system of your body is the closest tied to memory. So that's why smells are as strong a memory jarring thing as they are.
Yeah. And especially from childhood, because that's when you experience that magic of giving a shit about every single day, where you're like, wow, today's going to be fantastic. I get to
Before
go
you
to
were
the
jaded.
beach. I don't have to pay for anything. Yeah, you don't care about money or taxes or going to work and working for a shitty boss. You just have to like follow the rules and don't hit your sister and don't say shut up and whatever dumb shit your parents
You can
have
hate
for
your
rules.
sister, totally.
But that was my life. But you could hate your sister, I guess. I was not allowed to. That was against the rules.
Speaking of memory, I don't know if you guys have ever had this. It's a weird thing with me. And again, I don't know if it's solely me, but it's kind of along the lines of what David just said, where you have a memory of something and you relate that memory to a specific location, but the memory has nothing to do with the location that you are specific to.
Oh, I've never
Yeah.
done that. That's awesome.
So like you have a memory, let's say, of a family party. Okay. So the family party takes place in your grandmother's house. But for some odd reason, every time that you drive past a certain crossroads in a town, that memory pops up.
I'll give
So
you an
do you think-
example.
Okay.
When he said the memory of your grandmother's house, my grandparents used to have this like old stained glass chandelier above their breakfast area, and I haven't been in their house in 20 something years, and every time I drive by this one shop, they have those lamps, and it brings you like literally picture memory and smells and everything all at once. So I guess that could be a deja vu point for me, I guess.
But that's relating it to the shop that has chandelier or a light in it or something like that. What I'm saying is like an entire memory moment, okay, that has nothing significant tied to it whatsoever. Literally just you think of a road and that memory is tied to it. You think of a forest or a park that you drive by and another memory is tied to it, and they have nothing to do with each other.
I think most
Mhm.
deja vu, at least for me personally, is like that. It's something that's totally insignificant. There's nothing about it that's like, oh, this is crazy, but it just
deja vu. What he's talking about relating two different memories. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily
It's like
sound
a
like
memory
deja
thing.
vu. But
That's
I see what you're saying.
nostalgia.
Yeah, so you could have been thinking really hard about your family and driving by that street one day and you didn't even notice. And then later when you did it again, you connected the two because you were already thinking about them at another
Now
point
it's
in your
forever
life, in this
connected.
life. Maybe. Until it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's
I
not
always
forever.
thought it was very weird.
I don't know if anything's forever.
yeah. Well, so we did I bring it up all the time just because it was such a weird, not weird, but a great episode with a guy named Howdy McCoskey. What do you think about his idea that if it was a simulation, it could have been made last Thursday? So that
Oh,
That brings
Thursdayism.
in a whole right. It brings in a whole new
Sounds like a
idea.
religion. Thursdayism.
I'm a Thursdayist.
We have to go to mass.
But I mean, literally, the simulation could be reset every day, and you wouldn't know because all your memories would be changed. And people are like, "No, I totally remember on this day doing this thing." It's like, well, I'm
That's
sure
like
you
Dark
do remember
City.
that. Like what?
Like Dark City, the movie Dark City.
Yeah,
Oh
Where they
yeah,
get the
reset
memories
every night.
implanted. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they have memories of a lifetime every single
that would
day.
explain a lot of inconsistencies in history and other things. But what do you guys think about that?
I couldn't even tell you what I did last Thursday. So who's to say?
Me
to
either,
be completely
actually.
fair.
Probably a show.
It could also explain why time feels like it goes a lot faster. Weeks go by a lot quicker now. I don't know if that's more of an age thing. You know, when you were younger, it seemed like days were longer and weeks were longer. And now that you're an older adult, days go by like fucking nothing. They zip by.
We've
But-
talked about that recently. That we also heard on another podcast that they said the speed of light is increasing. So time is increasing as well. I haven't found anything to base that on. I don't study quantum physics and whatnot. So I don't know.
Really?
But nope.
Come on.
But it's an interesting theory.
Yeah, I heard something similar, but it was to do with the spin of the Earth is getting faster, so days are becoming shorter.
Would we feel that though? Like that difference? Would
We
you
would
notice
we
that
would
speed?
we would interpret it that way.
But
in our
wouldn't
minds.
clocks not work, or at least analog clocks, not our phones, but
Yeah.
wouldn't clocks just not, they'd start to not match up?
Well, I mean, time isn't real. Time is all perception, anyways.
I agree with that. I think time is put in place so that we have something to look forward to and do every day in this plane. And I'm not saying that's a great thing, but if
to
everything's
work.
happening all the time, well, if everything's happening all at once all the time, in order to have a true experience in life, time has to exist so that we can have a day and an evening and a time to do a certain thing. Like, oh, I did this an hour ago. It makes it much more fun than just being like, "Bleh."
Right. It's like a
And then it's over.
qualifier of events because you can categorize things that happen based on the time and the day and everything. So it seems like a calendar for things that happen.
Like, I
'cause
wonder if the creator or God or whatever was like, I'm going to do everyone a favor. I want you guys to live and exist instead of existing all in this place, constantly spinning and going everywhere. Have a linear life. It'll be so fun. And all we did was make people go to fucking work and complain and bitch about it all the time. We're like, God damn it, the days are getting shorter and it's cold outside. We're all just whining about our linear existence. He's like, fine, fuck you. Or you can do it all the time, all at once. Enjoy.
this is the real hell.
The invention of the clock. Fuck that guy.
Well, I suppose before the invention of the clock, there was the reference of the sun coming up and the sun going down. And even at that point, there was some sort of reference of time. Like you knew at sunrise, you had to go out and tend to the crops. And when the sun was at the center of the sky, you would go and feed the cows. And when the sun came down, you would go and make yourself dinner. I feel like that reference of time has always been there, even without the hour hand and the minute hand telling you exactly what time it was.
I didn't mean a clock in general. I meant linear time existing for us, existing as human beings instead of in whatever other plane of existence there might be.
So
I
even
think-
like the days of the week and the months of the year and so on and so
Sure,
forth.
like, I think there's a possibility that we're all living in a state of everything happening all the time, all at once, where we're just like, blah, 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 like just little particles, little energy particles. It's a possibility. It's just a random theory. I have lots of random theories. So if we're all existing as little tiny energy particles and someone was like, hey, let's make linear time so you guys can experience a life and see what that's like almost a simulation or like a game. And then we get into that and we get to experience linear time because we're constantly experiencing everything all at once, happening all the time. Now we have linear time. So yeah, sure. Of course, it's going to start primitively with the sun coming up and setting. And then we figure out, okay, we hunt in the day, we sleep at night or whatever, be on watch at night, either way. But that linear time piece eventually devolved into us hating it, which is what I find funny. I don't know if anyone gets that point, but
Well,
I
because
think
you
it's
would
funny.
hate it after you're used to it. It's like, oh, this is all I know, so fuck it. But if you were to exist outside of space and time, that would be amazing too, because you could see everything and everything that was going to happen and has happened. That'd be amazing too, but it would get boring because you would know fucking everything. So maybe God was just fucking bored. He's like, I know everything all the time. This is stupid. Why don't I just,
Yeah, it gives us the element of surprise. It gives us the idea like we don't know what's going to come to
he's
us
just trying
next.
to entertain himself or something.
Or maybe he just wants us to be entertained and experience life and be happy about it. Who knows? But we still are just like, fuck this. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I have to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning. Fuck this clock.
What do you guys think about the way that this has come into the common conversation? Well, as far as our community goes these days, where is that part of a psyop or something too, that we're all thinking about this kind of thing? I mean, I know people have always speculated on existence and the meaning of life and all this stuff, but it seems to have ramped up quite a bit in the last few years. What do you think about that? Don't all start at once.
I wouldn't say it's part of a psyop personally. And that, again, that's just an opinion. But you have people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Elon Musk talking about the possibilities of simulation theory. And obviously these are huge figureheads in their particular spaces of study. And yeah, they could be used to push through some sort of psyop. Obviously, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Elon Musk, and people of that sort of stance, they have the power and the ability to influence masses. But at the same time, I don't necessarily see the benefit of somebody questioning their existence. I get it from the religious standpoint, like that's sacrilegious and that could be a sin. You got to see the light of God, you got to see the light of Jesus Christ. But at the same time, I think it's perfectly natural for somebody to question existence and what sort of plane they're living on. And I almost think it's healthy for somebody to question that just a little bit, not to go off the deep end, but to get the cogs turning, grease the gears a little bit and figure out their space in the universe.
Yeah, and if you don't think about that, obviously you're an NPC.
No, I
Something
think-
along those lines, maybe.
I think that's what God wants for us, though. If we're his creation, why would he want us to be fucking retarded? He's going to want us to be questioning existence.
He makes retards.
I'm sorry to use the word.
Oh
retarded.
shit, no.
Okay.
What up,
Jesus
retarded
Christ.
faggots?
Continue, babe.
Oh no, I don't. Everybody has always questioned this type of shit, but it seems like there's periods that, at least as far as we know from history, where people don't think about that as much. It seemed like the 1800s, people were more just like, you know what I should do is get super fat because that's hot, because it means I have a lot of money, and I should wear these weird frilly things. I just don't get a huge like esoteric vibe from the 1800s.
You know what I should do? I should get vaccinated and change my profile picture to the Ukrainian flag.
And a
Make
black
sure we
squares and
stare
everything else.
whatever else is doing. I don't think that is what God wants or the creator wants. I don't think that's the type of people they're looking for. I actually don't even think it's what the elite want. I think they're trying to weed those people out because I think they want the smart people for something even worse.
Let's
I think
go
they're
into that.
trying to convince us. They're trying to push. It's like an elastic band. I was talking about that with Joe. Like, it's like, okay, there's the left and the right, and there's even the people in the middle like us. Like, we're in the middle. We're not left or right. We don't support Trump or Biden. We're not interested in politics at all in any way, shape, or form. But they're trying to take like, vaccines are so great. If you don't get a vaccine, you suck, you suck, you suck. And then you don't get it. And they're like, well, actually, vaccines are totally killing people. And those people who were so hard pulling on that elastic band, like, I'm not doing it, I'm not getting vaccinated, I'm not. We were those people too, but we let go of the band a long time ago. The people who are still holding on are going to get snapped back when they're like, you were right, you did the right thing, now we need you for this. That's what scares me.
Yeah, what do you
the
think about
most.
that? The old double reverse where we're actually living a psyop by questioning all this stuff, and we're actually right where the elite want us. What do you think about that?
We are not there. The people, the other people.
Whoever.
I mean, that would make the most amount of sense is distraction, a perfect distraction. The people that question the status quo the most being distracted by trivial and insignificant things is exactly the game plan. They don't care about the herd because the herd is already herded. They're
Right.
already done. They care
They're
about
already
the people
sucked
that are
in.
questioning everything. So what do you do to occupy the people that are questioning everything is feed them more bullshit.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right.
But
and
it's
that's-
bullshit that they're going to want to hear.
Yeah.
Which in return makes the people distracted non-playable characters because they're not playing
the game.
they're not playing the game. So I guess that answers our question from earlier. People are not really NPCs and not born as NPCs, but like an addiction or a mind virus that creates that thought process. But actually it's just a thought process that makes someone like that. If you're mindless and you're just all you're thinking about is the device in your hand and that's it, and likes, and that creates the non-playable character, because you're not out being an activist, you're not out doing this, you're not out doing that, you're not out saving somebody's life in an ambulance, like you're just scrolling. And
Yep.
that's
I like
probably
that a
where it
lot
is.
because it makes it gives control to being an NPC, which is maybe what I like about it the most, because I hate designating someone as an NPC because they're not like me, or because I hear someone say that someone's not like them, so they're an NPC. So it gives control to it. Like, am I being an NPC right now? Am I letting myself fall into this mind state, or am I going to go take action?
So I think
love this.
that exact thought process, though, is what makes you not an NPC, in my opinion, is because you're actually, it's like questioning if you're insane. Nobody who's insane questions that. So to question whether you're an NPC or not and be like, am I judging too hard? Am I doing that? Might be the goal, is that you're recognizing, human flaws in what you call an NPC and going, wait, am I an NPC because I'm judging this? So I'm not saying it makes you perfect or anybody perfect, but to recognize these inherent human traits and be like, you know what, I might work on that. That might be the real sign of it. Anybody who's, like I said at the beginning, anyone who's too sure of themselves, I'm very leery of, because I'm like, you're telling me you have the answers to all this and nobody does. Nobody has, for as far as I've known. So if you don't have the answers, neither do I. That makes us both wrong and right at the same time. Why don't we just, smoke some weed and be cool with each other?
Agreed.
Amen.
So I've come across a pretty interesting theory when it comes to simulation theory, and it's related to the paranormal. I came across a theory that suggests that most, if not all, paranormal entities are actually overlapping code from a previous simulation, which is why we don't see ghosts in Nike snapbacks and baggy jeans, right? It's like people from the 1500s, they got their white dresses and their top hats and like their fancy clothes and all.
It was
all that shit.
before version 4.0 or something.
Yeah.
This too, that's why it's all old school, because it's all code that's just kind of coming back into this reality, and we just kind of see it and we're like, oh my God. But instead of being computers like we're supposed to be, we're like, oh my gosh, we're interpreting it as this is Hetty from the 1800s and she had a farm.
Exactly.
I can't wait to see a ghost wearing Yeezys.
Yeah.
Dude, so
Be a
that
great day.
probably won't happen for another couple hundred years. By the time the code catches up again, then you're
Oh,
going to
yeah.
see people like Lil
Then
Wayne
we'll be
with
the
face
ghosts.
tattoos. They're going to be like, what the fuck is this dude with face tattoos and a fake teeth? What the fuck was he doing? Was that cool back then? Yeah, it was totally cool back then, bro. Everybody called themselves little and young for some fucking reason. We don't know. Nobody's going to know. It's going to be just as much of a mystery. Well, dude, before we get out of here, why don't you guys tell everybody where they can find you and your awesome show? Because we got to have another talk again soon.
For sure. Like I said in the beginning, Hush Hush Society Conspiracy Hour, hushhushsociety.com. Pretty much anywhere you can input or search Hush Hush Society. We're the only ones. You'll find us very easily.
Perfect. Same with
Nice.
us. We're the only legit bat. So that's cool.
Hey, isn't it nice? It's a good feeling.
Ben picked well with this name. I thought it was stupid, but it ended up being very unique. And
If
nobody
you
has to
Google
say.
legit bat, though, you'll find the watermelon legit bat. And there's a guy who sells baseball bats that are all legit
Baseball
fruit
bats.
baseball bat names or something. I'm not sure, but you might find it. Legit
we get-
watermelon baseball bat.
Our search relates a lot to the movie Hush. There's apparently a horror movie or something that comes up a lot. That's about it.
Nice.
Well, hey, at least you're getting
Otherwise,
more
it's
hits,
us.
right? All right.
Hell
Well,
yeah.
thanks everybody. We appreciate you. If you want to support the show, you can donate in the links below, or you can go to LegitBat and get a shirt, legitbat.com, and get a shirt or a mug or whatever. I always forget to mention that at the beginning because I'm stupid. But if
Are you
you,
being an NPC right now?
yes, I'm very NPC. Thank you very much. Shut up. All right. Have a great night.